Dating for men after being in a long-term relationship means starting all over again. And that can be very scary, especially if it was sexless. The result of a sexless relationship can sometimes lead to lack of self confidence, which makes it all the more difficult. This episode of Sexplosion is dedicated to all of those recently separated or singles that simply want some guidance on the hidden dating do's and don'ts. Hello there, my name is Caroline Chenier and welcome to Sexplosion. I've wanted to do this topic for a long time. As for the 8 years between divorce and meeting Greg, I did a lot of dating and learned the good things and, of course, the pitfalls as well. In this episode of Sex and Dating, I'll be telling you all you need to know with my experience, including those of my clients who have had to start all over again as well. So let's get into it. So, what I want to first of all discuss is all the different places you can actually meet people. So, we've got two places, right? You've got it organically and you've got it online. So, what is the difference between both? Well, online, you kind of bypass all of the long hours of conversation and getting to know each other. Because, first of all, the profile tells you everything about that person. And then when you start to contact them, you kind of already know a lot about them. Whereas when you meet organically, you're kind of starting from scratch. And so, what's really important with online dating is that you've got to make sure, first of all, they're not too far away. Quite often, what happens when you meet people online and perhaps you're going on holiday and you carry on Tindering, for example, you are then meeting people online who live in that area. So let's say you've gone to Peru, maybe you've gone to Australia. You're actually meeting people who are in that country. Maybe you'll meet some tourists too, but you never know where they're from either. So the biggest thing about online dating is making sure they're not too far from you. The other thing about online dating is making sure your profile actually matches you, that your photograph is of how you look now. The amount of people that have younger photographs. I met somebody once who'd put a photograph 10 years younger than himself. And that was just so, of course, you meet the person. Of course, they're disappointed. And also, it's best to do a natural picture of yourself because if you put one where you're all, like, for example, girls, I mean, they'll put one where they're all dolled up. That's fine, but they've got to look natural because when you then go out with them, you want to see them as they are. So with the men, do one of as you are naturally, best thing to do. And in your actual profile, make sure you put down the questions that you want to ask and also what you want. I mean, do you want children? Do you not want children? Make sure whoever it is that you're attracting from the profile, that you actually tell them what you want. And actually, that's quite useful because then you don't have to ask those questions later. So, one thing that online dating I discovered, maybe it's because the men were younger, is they were sending photographs of their parts to me without my permission. So, I think older men are probably a lot more mindful of respect in that department. So, that's okay. So, that was online. So, now let's talk about meeting organically. So, where can you meet organically? So, what I would strongly suggest is that you meet somebody where you have an interest. There are loads of meetups, there are loads of clubs. Like if you like tennis, go and join a tennis club. If you like doing pottery, go and join a pottery class. If you like photography, if you like rambling, like walking, if you like swimming, there are groups for everything, right? So why don't you go and join a group for something you enjoy? That way, you can meet people organically, naturally. You kind of chat to different people and you get to know people before you jump straight into a first date. Always best to check them out first. So the big advantage of meeting somebody organically is that you have a look at their mannerisms, you look at their personality, how they dress, you see how they look, their personality. And that way it's so much better than online. So it's up to you how you want to meet the person. Do both. I mean, do both. You've got nothing to lose. Okay, so let's get into the first date. How do you even ask them for the first date? Now, what I would never do, and so many people go down this route, and it's just not necessary. Some people say, "Would you like to go on a date with me?" No, you don't need to do that. If you've been talking online, then you can do that. But when you're doing it organically, it's best to say, "Do you fancy meeting up for a drink?" Or "Do you fancy going out for something to eat? I'm free right now. I'm quite hungry. If you are, should we go and have a pizza?" That way, it's like you're going as a friend and not like the pressure of it being a date. So do it that way. Okay, so that's how you can ask for first date, because a lot of men, especially if they've been in sexless relationships, they're not quite sure about how to ask them for a date. And the other thing about organically asking for a date is you don't want to look desperate. You don't want to be really keen, because that can really put somebody off. So just be calm, be relaxed, and just enjoy. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the first date. So where do you go for a first date? Now, I remember my brother telling me a long, long time ago, when I was still married, I hadn't divorced yet, that he used to go online dates and he would let the woman decide where to go. And usually with that, he would go to a new part of London, because we lived in London. So he'd go to a new part of London and he would discover. So that was really nice. What is also important for a first date is never go to each other's homes. First of all, don't ever go to their home. Don't do that. It's not, I mean, I did it lots of times actually, but I had an ulterior motive. I wasn't looking for a long lasting serious relationship at the time. I was enjoying my life, right? But if you're looking for a serious date, you really want to go out and meet someone who is the next one, then don't do it in their home or your home. So there are 5 qualities of a first good date for a good spot to meet, right? So first of all, make it public. Now, if you have discovered in either your online conversations or whether you've met organically in a group, you'll know whether you both like the same thing. So if you both like want to do a fun day, going ice skating or roller skating or something fun like zip lining or something like that. Some people like to go for a meal, first of all. So it really doesn't matter, as long as it's a public place and something you both agree on. That's great. Just make sure there are a lot other people around. First of all, it'll make your date feel a bit safer anyway. If you know each other already quite well because you've met each other organically, then that's not too much of a problem, because you've actually done all the groundwork already. You can go and visit a museum. If there's something you both really enjoy, visit a museum, art gallery. It all really depends on what you enjoy. Like if you both enjoy photography, go to a photography exhibition or something like that. I mean, I'm just picking up if it's cooking or if it's if it's history. There's so many different things you can do. Now, that's about where to go. How about what to wear? Now, I would say just wear what you feel relaxed and comfortable in. Don't try and think, "Oh, do you think she'll like this? Do you think she'll like?" No, you need to be yourself. It's really, really important you be yourself. So that's the date sorted out, where you're going, what to wear. Now, what are you going to talk about? What is it? If you're worrying about all of that, will she like me? Will she not like me? Look, if you've already done the groundwork with the organic route, then you know already that she likes you. You know that she's accepted the date, so she likes you. Don't look into things. Don't overthink anything. If you've met online, then you are going to be a bit nervous, perhaps. You may think, "Oh, does she like me or not?" Okay, all you need to do is just relax and just be yourself. Be present when you're meeting somebody for the first time and you've met them online, you're meeting them first time. You just need to be present. Now, if you have already met each other, you know kind of things what to talk about. But you see, there's always the added pressure when you actually fancy somebody. You see, what you need to be aware of is that when you actually fancy someone, you really want it to work. That's when you come across desperate and you become a bit how can I say it? You want to please a lot. What I'm going to suggest to you is that you just imagine they're still a friend. While they're still a friend, then you are not overdoing it, are you? Okay, so let's talk about chatting. So there's a cardinal rule on a first date. So if you've met organically, you would have talked a lot about different things, right? But what I want to talk about is that when you are on a date, don't talk about your ex. Don't start to, I mean, later on down the line, you might start talking about your ex. If you've met organically, perhaps you already talked about this. But for those people who've met online, it's the first time, perhaps you already talked about the ex online, maybe. But I'm saying if you haven't talked about this, don't start talking about it on the first date. Definitely not. All right. Big no. You want to keep things light and fun. Engaging in a meaningful conversation is one of the cornerstones of successful first dates. So, one thing I really want you to do is be an active listener. Listen. If one of the things that didn't work in your previous relationship was that you didn't listen enough, then make this the first step into a new you in active listening. Active, not in one ear out the other. And the thing is, you see, when you show a genuine interest in somebody, you show that you are interested and that you care, and make eye contact, nod in agreement, respond thoughtfully. Listening not only helps your understanding of your date better, but it also creates a connection. And that is where intimacy starts coming in. See, you want to create the intimacy, the right kind of intimacy, that caring, thoughtful connection here at this first proper date, right? And it can lead to much more enjoyable conversation. There are 4 kinds of intimacy. There's physical intimacy, which we'll know about. There's emotional intimacy, which women really connect to the most. And this is the one that men have to be aware of. Women love emotional connection. But there's also intelligent intimacy, and there's the spiritual intimacy, right? So we have to try and connect with all of these if we can. This is where you're going to really excel in your understanding of the person, really tuning into those areas of intimacy. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is compliments. Oh my goodness, I've been on dates where they're just constantly complimenting you. Now, when someone constantly compliments you all the time, you start to think, what is it they want, right? Because what they're doing is they're only complimenting you on your physical appearance. And that is okay. Like the odd compliment, like, oh, you look nice this evening, or your hair looks nice this evening, or something like that. Not overdoing it. You got to use compliments in moderation, not just physical compliments. You have to show a deeper connection, deeper attraction. Like, if they've been talking about any talents that they've got, like you value their opinion on whatever they're talking about, or aspects of their personality that fascinate you, you need to compliment in that department a bit more. So compliments are okay if they're in the right context. So a little bit of physical compliments, a little bit. Most of it has to be about their person, but don't go overboard, whatever you do. If you notice something about your date other people overlook, that makes you really special. It makes them feel like you really see them instead of carrying out some preconception of them. So ask interesting questions. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is common red flags. All right. It's always good to keep your eyes open for possible deal breakers on that first date before you get a chance to emotionally get involved and decide to finish with them. But just be careful not to focus too much on finding them. I'm talking to you about red flags, but don't go overboard with them. Some common red flags to look out for can be being late on a date shows a lack of consideration, their basic bad manners, right? People that only ever talk about themselves, can give you a good idea of what the rest of the tone of your relationship will be. And if they're disrespectful, even if it's just playful at first, it could tell you a lot about how they relate to people in their life in general. The other thing I want to talk to you about is if they drink too much on a first date, it tells you one of two things. They have a problem with a moderation, or they use alcohol to deal with their anxiety as a coping mechanism. All right. So be aware of those little things. All right. Just leave them at the back of your mind. You know, the first date is always a good indicator for how they're going to be. Don't go in with rose-colored spectacles because you absolutely adore this person. You can't wait. You're just desperate to get into their lives. No, just take it easy and just watch out for those little subtle things. All right. Now, you know what to wear. You now know where to meet, and you've started conversation, right? Now, what about touch? When do you touch them? If you touch them at all, how do you do it? So what I'm going to say is something that many, many people, and I've seen celebrities do this, and there are people that I know that do this as well, is they touch on the arm or something, or the hand, right, when they're talking. And the thing is with that is that you are making a connection with that person. Now, you have to be careful about this because you have to read the body language. You've got to see how they're feeling about that. Because some people on the first date, some people don't like touch. And with those people, you need to be a little bit careful. So touching arm, you find Chris Harmsworth does this. And Oprah Winfrey's got a lot of bad press right now, but Oprah Winfrey, she does that. She does a little touch and she looks them in the eye, directly in the eye, and it really creates a connection. That's what you want to do, is just create a little connection. Do not touch them in places where they would feel uncomfortable. I've had people touch me on the inside of my thigh. That is not good. Touching people there is not good on a first date, right? You need to read that body language. Okay, so really what you need to do is read the body language. Now, a lot of people ask me, when do I kiss? Well, let me just tell you about kissing first of all. So with kissing, you have the lizards. Don't ever be a lizard with a woman. What do I mean by lizard? Those men who straight away put their tongue straight in. Do not do that. What you need to do is little tiny kisses on the lips. Don't put the tongue in straight away. So when do you do this? Well, you could do it at the end of the night, but you need to let the woman do the driving. What do I mean by that? You let her decide, because while you do the driving, while you lead, that's kind of, for some women, especially on the first date, is like a bit scary, right? You do not want to scare her off. So maybe at the end of the first night, if you can feel, you need to start feeling the energy and seeing how she is looking at you. What's her body language towards you? Does she touch you back when you touch the shoulder? Because they're good indications that she likes you. But what you don't want to do is scare her away. There's no rush, right? You don't need to do this on the first date. And in fact, if you don't kiss on the first date, that is a real mark of respect. And I would do that. I would not do it. Make her beg you for a kiss. I remember on one date, one man I ended up going out with for a while, he didn't kiss me for 6 weeks. Took my hand, hugged me, but didn't kiss me. 6 weeks. I actually started to wonder whether he actually liked me or not, But unfortunately, when he did kiss me, it was really wet. Make sure you swallow and don't lick your lips. So swallow and don't lick your lips. There's nothing worse than a soggy kiss, like all wet. Need your lips to be dry, right? So don't lick your lips and swallow. Any saliva you've got, swallow it. Now, if you do get the indication that she wants to kiss you, I would say don't do it the first time. Let her wait, right? You need to make sure she wants you. And if you get an indication that she wants to kiss you, perhaps you kiss her on the cheek and then you kiss her on the lips next time, right? Now, when you go for the kiss, every woman loves the face being held like this, all right? Hold her face like that. And then gently, very, very gently, kiss her on the lips once. Not like in the films, and they just pull away. And you look at her in the eyes, and her eyes will tell you everything. If her eyes say, do it again, especially when they look at your eyes and then look at your lips like that, they look like that, you know they're looking at your lips and they want you to kiss you. So you need to take note of all this. All right. And then when you do kiss her, do not, as I said before, don't be a lizard. Don't stick it right in there. There's so much you can do with the lips before, and let her, if she wants the tongue, she will put it first. Let her do it. Don't you do the tongue first. Let her do it, all right? Okay. So that's the kissing. Any questions about kissing, either DM me or put it in the comments below. I'm happy to answer. Okay. Now we're going to talk about, this is what you've been waiting for all this time, probably, is the sex. So this is what we're going to talk about now. When do you have sex? Well, it all depends on what you want. Do you want a long-lasting relationship, or are you just out to have fun? If you're just out to have fun, you both agree that you just want to have fun, then just do what you want. But if you are looking for a long-lasting relationship, you need to make sure you have that respect. So don't push anything. The body language and the way she behaves will tell you whether she's ready for it or not. And honestly, have the patience of a saint. Make sure she wants it. All right. She will indicate body language. She'll touch you. She'll kiss you again. She'll show you, believe me. And you know what I mean when you experience it for the first time. If there is a first time for you, especially if you've been in a very, very long relationship, especially if it's been sexless, you may have a lack of confidence in this department. But honestly, if you just let things happen, I can promise you everything will come back. Just be present, enjoy the moment, enjoy the presence of this woman, and just relax. Don't overthink anything. Don't think, is she liking me or is she not liking me? Just be you. Don't think, oh, shall I do this because I want to please her? Don't do any of that. You must just be you. Please, I beg you, just be yourself. Many of you out there probably thinking, I am myself. Well, that's great. If you're not yourself, be yourself. Okay, now, if there are any questions about that and I've missed something out, do let me know in the comments. Now, the big thing I'm going to talk to you about next is being turned down, right? Being turned down. Many of you will not like being turned down. Nobody likes being rejected, especially if you're in a sexless relationship and you've been rejected that many times in your relationship. The last thing you're going to want is to be rejected again. Now, I'm going to say to you, don't take rejection personally. You may have taken it personally when you're in your long-lasting relationship. That's different. When you're on a date, you may not gel together. So in your first date, if you touched once or something on the shoulder, you kind of gauged it and you just touched like that just to kind of get connection, but you didn't get any touching back, or you didn't get them looking in your eyes, or the body language is closed rather than open. Don't ever push it. And if they don't want to see you again, you really shouldn't worry about it, because it's not meant to be. You're not meant to be with that person. You might really like them, but if it's not reciprocated, why would you want to be with them? So don't let that bother you. It's easy for me to say, I know. I've been rejected lots of times, and I've often wondered why. But at the end of the day, you've got to be rational about it. You can't have everybody like you. Not everybody's going to fancy you like you fancy them. So don't worry about it. there'll be another. They say there are plenty of fish in the sea. Do you want to just take note of that saying? There really are. And the thing is, you see, is that the right one will come along and you'll be so grateful that the other one turned you down. Honestly, that is, I hope the microphone hasn't always been in the way there. It's really important that you don't let that get to you personally. Okay, so there you have it. Another episode of Sexplosion. I hope you enjoyed it. Do join us for the next episode. It's going to be on the 3rd of February, 2024, and I'll be talking about sex and swinging with a guest called Hippie, who's been here for an episode in December. So come back right here for more unscripted, interesting conversations. If you enjoyed what you've just seen, please hit subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment, and also click that notification bell. Thank you all so much for taking the time to tune in. See you next time. To your success, I'm out.